Okay, welcome. This is G, All Astrology, and we are doing a continuation on October 2019 energetic cycles. Okay, and this is for Scorpio risings. Scorpio, if you do not know where your rising sign is, comment down below, and we will look into it for you. We'll take care of you. All right, Scorpios. Let's just get right to the point. This is a super regenerative month for everybody in general. But I have a feeling that for a lot of Scorpio risings, this is absolutely monstrous because of the fact that Scorpios inherently have this regenerative rising phoenix power. Okay, so yes, even if you're a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio moon, I'm doing this as a Scorpio rising reading. A lot of other astrologers would say, and you can apply this if this is your sun or your moon. I have an issue with being really accurate. And so I like to make sure that I basically protect myself because I don't want to be, I don't like to be sloppy in this kind of work. This is dealing with people's lives. I take it extremely seriously, and it's one of the highest honors and privileges that I personally can even fathom in my life, in this life. Is literally having someone's life in the palm of my hand, you know? So this is me taking it seriously and stating this is for Scorpio risings. And let's just get to the reading. Stay tuned for the very end of the reading. There's going to be choppy waters for the end of the month. You're going to want to hear about it. I'll help you, guide you through it. So let's start off with the full moon. Actually, we're going to probably do a little bit of everything, but if you listened to the first video, if you didn't, go back and listen to it. It gives you an overall view of this month, an overview explaining we're in Pluto time, Pluto energy, which is the word regenerative and transformation and, you know, birth by death type of thing. So you're going to experience the full moon, which is in Aries, at 20 degrees, okay? Scorpios, we all are, but for you, the full moon is going to be occurring, where the hell is Aries in this person's chart? I'm sorry. Click that there, click that there. So the full moon for you is going to happen. I'm sorry, I don't know what is happening. I had all my notes, I had everything organized, and all of a sudden my brain, okay, so it's going to be in Aries. So that's in your 6th house. I'm sorry. It's like right in front of me. So this is about health. There could be some powerful, powerful healings going on. It's not just health, it's work projects. It can also be work in general. It can be coworkers. It can be animals. Anything that has to do with Virgo, because it's the 6th house. So being very analytical, that's Virgo, right? They have a high level of discernment, which is fascinating for a Scorpio, because Scorpios tend to be extremely psychic. And sometimes they lack discernment. And so this would be good. This would help balance that out. I have to make a mention. The full moon has this 6th house energy for you, okay? But that means it's opposing your 12th house, which is where the Libra and where Mars and the Sun is. So it's kind of a going within time for Scorpios in that area. For a lot of other people in astrology right now, wherever Mars and the Sun is in their chart, it's making them very active. Well, this is in your 12th house. The 12th house is Pisces. The 12th house is going within. It's retrospective. It's kind of like if you're a Christian or if you've ever heard of Jesus, it's kind of like when Jesus would go off to be alone. He would need to spend time alone to be with the Father, to be with the One, to contact Source. That's what the 12th house is. It's a way where it's a time where I have to get away from all the hubbub and all the physical and material world, and I have to go and rise above. I have to go within and touch that silent spot. It's the silent voice within. It is the all-knowing spot. It is Source. It is the divine. It is the intangible. It is the spiritual. It is the metaphysical. So some people would just say the word retrospective, you know, where people are maybe thinking back or internalizing things or being introspective type of stuff. I know I said retro because, well, sometimes depending upon, have you ever sat down and tried to meditate? Because Pisces, 12th house would be about meditation. Sometimes when we think we're going to meditate, our mind starts to wander and goes everywhere but where we are in our body at the moment. It takes us backwards. Anyway, there's going to be more internal stuff going on a deeper psychological level. How's that? I should have just said that from the get-go. Okay, so it can be metaphysical, though. It can be deeply spiritual. The one thing I have to mention for Scorpios is that at this time, having the full moon in your 6th house and among co-workers, you want to be careful. Don't get into any conversations where there's people having like talking behind people's back type of rumor type of stuff, and just there's an elevated talking going on in the sign of Scorpio. You have Venus and Mercury in Scorpio right now, which makes in the 1st house, which means you as a human, you appear physically as though you are more outgoing socially at this time. You're going to be more communicative because you've got Venus and Mercury, the sisters, the siblings together, and they want to talk, they want to communicate, and it's about other people's business. I don't know how else to say it. You're going to probably find yourself being more inquisitive at this time for that, around the heightened sense of this entire month, actually, because Venus and Mercury are there in your 1st house. So you may be finding yourself, if you're aware, using your energy inappropriately. Scorpios have an energetic power, I'll just use that word, an energetic penetrating force. They can penetrate energetically into other people's areas, private space, their auras. Some Scorpios aren't aware of that. They kind of just think, oh, I just know shit. But if you're aware, you understand that you can catch yourself at times where you have this desire to know more because you're ruled by Pluto. Pluto is the gigantic drill that goes down deeper because it has to get to the core of things. So whether you realize it or not, you have that ability. And so at this time, you might find yourself really being super nosy. I'll just say it, super curious. It could bend a little bit too far where the curiosity goes overboard. It depends if you have any planets in there, in that area. Now remember, we're talking about a Scorpio rising, okay? So you may have some other planets there natally. At this time, no matter who you are, if you're a Scorpio rising, you're going to automatically, the Sun and Mars are going to be in your 1st house, okay? Which is what's giving you this drive, okay? And this impetus to go ahead and be super nosy, But on the other hand, on the upbeat, on the higher level of this, great time to research, great time to be doing, to tackle some esoteric stuffs, a great time to dive into astrology, right? Things where it does require a much greater capacity to investigate and to be scientific almost at this time, which you will be. You'll have the ability. Remember, I mentioned in the beginning, you're going to have that full moon force in the house of work and in the 6th house of Virgo, which is all about being able to analyze things and to be able to think critically a little bit more, but not critically as in being critical, but being able to look at more details and logic and reasoning, okay, and being more objective. Let's move along now to the latter part of the month where there's a whole lot of stuff happening. It's not just a new moon. Normally for the new moons we talk about, okay, we want you to set your intentions and it's all love and peace and flowers and rainbows and unicorns and stuff and Buddha sitting there with the incense ringing and we got our crystals all around us and we're in a good place. It's that and more, okay? It's that and so much more. There's this breaking out time. Coming out of the closet. I don't know if that's even the right way to say it, but there's this, I need my freedom, I need my space, and it's not to the degree where it's get out of my life, I need my space. It's more like the soul is bursting through and coming out, and parts of the physical are dissolving, and the ego, part of the ego will dissolve. It's this whole thing, we're all going through it, where parts of us are just literally our true self, our ego self, the reason we came to live in this lifetime, some of the work we came to do right now, we are getting more clarity on what our role is. What is my specific role in this life? What is the reason I incarnated? One of the reasons. So you're going to have some nice clarity on that at this time. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Just keep in mind that everybody's going through this. It's not about the me show. It's that everybody gets to have its me time. So we all have to recognize and acknowledge there might be sudden awarenesses of ourselves, and we might be hearing about those sudden awarenesses from others, right? Because when you're coming about your thing, it's like, wow, I got this new thing, and I was kind of aware, but now I'm really sure, and I feel more confident. Well, others are going to be experiencing that too. So along with that, we are all going to be experiencing a square, which means more work at the end of the month. Okay, so this is October 28th and on. There's this, I like to call it a setup, this relationship between Saturn and Mars. Okay, Saturn and Mars do have conversations, they do talk, but they're both very headstrong. So when they come to a table, they realize each other's power, although Saturn is the authority figure, and Mars recognizes that. Mars is more like one of the soldiers, where Saturn is more like, a general, one of the people in charge. So they have conversations, but when they come and talk, it's like, okay, we have work to do, right? So this is what we're all going to be looking at. For you, Scorpio, this is going to be in, actually, this isn't super rough for you. This is actually kind of nice. If you have been aware about your penetrating energy, your penetrating curiosity, this will be much smoother for you. So I'm glad I mentioned what I mentioned earlier on, and I will re-emphasize it here. Make sure you're aware, because this is what's coming up. It's communications. Communications with siblings, communications with neighbors, communications with people in your community, communications on the internet, specifically social media, okay? Networking, like if you work for yourself and however it is that you do networking, be very careful, okay? Be real careful this entire month about, well, so-and-so said this about so-and-so. Be very careful. Use your high level of discernment that's going to actually be given to you at this time. And understand that you need to be an objective thinker and not such an emotional being, because that's what the full moons do. They give us, I know I didn't stress so much upon that for you at this time, because it was almost like you were getting a burst of, for you, where this full moon happens, it's in your house of Virgo. Well, Virgo's all about objectivity, rationale, and logic. So you're going to that's going to be more prominent right now for you. So that's a good thing. Emotions will still be there, but at the same time, I think you're going to work it out okay. I think it's going to work out to your advantage. I think you're actually going to be given something that you might have been lacking before. Now, at the end of the month, I want to bring us back to that. At the end of the month, there is, like I said, that square. And it's really about the communication. The way that you communicate, the way that you're thinking, the way that you express yourself to others, specifically those that you could be dealing with in business and commerce, okay? If this is, you don't want to have something coming back that could affect you badly, especially if you work for yourself. So keep this in mind. Even if you don't work for yourself, there's nothing worse in the world than having neighbors, literally where you live, where you think something about them or they think something about you, and all of a sudden there's this bad blood between you guys. And well, the only way to get away from a neighbor is you have to pick up and move. Well, who wants to do that? That's a lot of work. So having good relations with neighbors is really important if you want to have a nice home life, if you want to keep the peace. So keep that in mind, okay? Other than that, we're going to be dealing, all of us, with the Mercury retrograde. It happens on the 31st of October. So that means for the next 3 weeks, roughly, we're going to be dealing with going at things a little bit slower and more methodically. We're going to find that we might have to be redoing things multiple times. So allow yourself more time to do things for the next 3 weeks. If you had a project that normally took you only, 4 hours to do it, allow for extra time. Schedule extra time for certain things. Okay, this is going to be important. And this will be in Scorpio. So this will be happening in your, this is all about self. This is all going to be taking place. I'm sorry, my brain is switching gears again. I have to make sure I have this set up for you correctly. Yeah, this is all going to be about yourself. So have patience with yourself is what that means. Understand that some things about yourself that you were hoping you'd been already taken care of, like that you had already learned lessons on, that you had already, maybe you're trying to make some physical improvements, or maybe you might be like, gosh, I wish my health, I wish this would get better already. Be a little bit more patient with yourself. That is happening. That is going to come. It's a time, like I said, it's a Mercury retrograde. So don't introspect on yourself too hard, but definitely take advantage of this time, because that's what it is about. It is about being aware of your physical body and how you can operate better in the shell that you were given, in the vehicle that you were given for this lifetime, and to respect it. All right, that's all for October 2019 Scorpio rising. Thank you.